Well, good day everyone. I'm B from Our Dream, Our Purpose. And today we're actually going to take this old cooler, still a good cooler, but just a few things broke on it. The handles broke off, one of the hinges is broke. So we're actually going to take this and actually make a holder for it, a cooler holder. So we're going to actually build some legs out of wood, build a structure so it actually fits down in it. It's, as you guys have seen in the past, maybe you're new to the channel, our house is cedar siding, some planks like this, and then with some light gray trim. So what I'll do with this is I'm actually going to build the structure itself that holds this in place out of 2x4s. I'll actually cut down, use some 2x2s as well. We'll build that structure, and then I'll actually get to paint that the gray. But then I'm actually going to put cedar siding all the way around the sides. There'll be a shelf at the bottom. I'll actually put cedar planks on top of that. And then the lid itself, I'll actually put cedar planks on top of it as well. So you'll get a mixture of the gray and the cedar into it so it matches what we need to. But hope you like, subscribe, hit those notifications as we go through. I'll show you some of these. I'll try to get a little bit of every step of the process, show you what I'm doing and talk you through a little bit of it. So we'll go from there. I'll start off, what I did here is I tried to get everything together that I'm going to need. I'm building this in my garage, so it's not far to walk to any place to get anything I need, but it's nice to have everything I need. I'm going to have to do, so where the drain is, I've actually already taken the drain out, but I'll actually have one of these faucets on it, so it just looks a little more unique. It'll be on the outside, but I've got some fittings for that. I've got some PVC glue, things like that. I've got screws, I've got regular glue, I've got some tools over here that I'm going to use. So I tried to get everything we have here close, but now I'm going to move some of it off to the side. I just wanted you to see everything. Over here is all the boards that I'm going to need. But I'm going to move some things out of the way. We'll start off with the cooler. I just want to take the handles off of it. I've taken the hinges off the back again. They were broken, so I took those off. I'll take these handles off. They're actually molded into the cooler itself. So I'll actually cut these. And then I'm going to put some Gorilla Tape over top of it. The reason being is Gorilla Tape sticks to everything. And this is going to be inside the wood structure. You'll never see it. It's not a big deal. But I just want to have that extra little protection over top of it and go from there. All right? So, as I mentioned, the handles actually had broken off here. The hinges I actually took off, but they were actually split here, so I unscrewed them from here as well. So what we're basically going to do, we'll put the lid on the side. We don't need it right now, but we're going to actually take these off right here. Can't forget the safety glasses. Feeling better already. We'll go ahead and try to cut these off, see how they do.
Here we're just cutting off the remaining parts of the handles and then using a grinding wheel just to clean it off. It's plastic, so it went rather smooth, but we just want a smooth surface around so it fits inside the box easily.
All right, now we'll get some of these tools out of the way and get us a tape measure so we can focus on the boards themselves. Now, I am going to build the legs first. And the legs are actually going to come down here and down here. Then I'll take two 2x4s, I'll come to the same length, and I'll actually put them together like this, and it'll actually create an L. So it'll wrap around here, but then I'll put a frame around this, and that'll go inside the legs. We'll do one for the bottom and hold it in place as well. But I just want to get an idea of the size of it.
Just cutting the boards for the legs here. We'll get those cut first, and then we'll go on to the next parts that need cut, trying to get the cutting out of the way.
All right, before we put the legs together, I'm actually going to measure again the top of the cooler and see if we can't finish that, get that curved around.
Here we're cutting the pieces for the tops, and the top that goes around the structure, and then the base that goes underneath the cooler and the very bottom shelf. You'll also see here shortly I'll actually take some of those and actually rip them down on the saw. Didn't need the complete 2x4s because of the weight we're using, so making some into 2x2s and then using that for the shelves itself. But then we'll go from there.
All right, so we got a lot of sawing done. Originally I was just doing the legs, and then I did some measurements, and I thought it was easier to, while we had everything set up to cut, to go ahead and cut some of the other boards. So I'll show you what we're gonna use those for. We're gonna wrap around the cooler itself, go underneath the cooler, and some of these as well will go underneath the cooler, and then actually gonna put a base at the bottom as well so we can store things on it. But let's start with the legs. We're gonna build the 4 legs, and essentially how we're gonna do it's gonna create an L shape.
Here I'm just assembling the legs. You'll see me go back and forth between the drill and a screw bit. I just like to drill all of my pilot holes ahead of time before I put the screws in. It does not seem to crack at all with using the pine, but just to make sure it doesn't crack or split, I just like to pre-drill everything. So that's what I'm doing here.
All right, got the 4 legs done. Now, gonna bring the cooler over just to check a couple things. But what we're essentially gonna do is build a structure around the cooler. Should look just like this. Out, and basically hope is this sits in here. That looks pretty good. Happy with that. So
here I'm assembling 3 different levels. The top, which is just a square to go around the outside of the cooler. The second one will actually be a box with 2 slats going straight across to hold. It'll be underneath the cooler itself. That's what I'm doing here. And then the third and final one will be a square around and then a single piece going across horizontally, and that's so it allows me more nailing space whenever I'm putting the slats on the bottom itself.
All right, so now we're putting it together. I did you would have seen it, but I sped it up, put a little music to it so you can still see what I'm doing, but relax on top of it as well. I love music, so I try to put as much music in a video as I can. So we'll see how that goes. Now, the intent now is to put the legs on. The legs essentially will start here, they'll go on the outside, and I'll put them on the outside first. I'll put just a couple screws in. Then I'll put the cooler in and actually put the next level on, which will be the bottom to hold the cooler in place. We'll put that on. Again, just a couple screws. Then I'll take the cooler out and actually tighten everything down.
Here I'm just attaching the legs to the top ring that's going to go around the cooler, and then I'll attach the second level next, but getting this done first.
I built this structure so I can attach it to here, but then added the 2x4s underneath so it holds the cooler in place. So strengthens it here, and again, We'll screw this in. I do want to make sure it's level all the way around. It should be, it's sitting on this, but I'll measure up from the bottom board, see where it's at, and make sure we're at the same place all the way around. We'll put that in, and then we'll actually attach, before I flip it over, I'll probably put the other one in as well, and I'll explain that one, how that is. So then,
here, as I mentioned, I'm just attaching the shelf below the cooler that holds it in place. Actually, I measured it so it's the right height level from the top, and then I flip it over, putting blocks underneath the bottom so I don't have to measure it, but it's consistent across the board, and attaching that.
we got the bottom put in. We got everything else in. Now we have to focus on, I say everything else in, this is the frame itself. Now we're gonna actually put the cooler back in, and I'll focus on the top and building a frame for the top itself. Then we'll go from there. All right, everybody. As there's a little pause, really won't be for you guys. I got ready to start focusing on the top here. And something I noticed was this here, the top here. My plan was to paint this gray, then the lid would actually be gray and cedar. But I really didn't like the look of this here. So I actually cut some boards off camera, really cut it out of the cedar. Gonna make the trim around here. I'm actually gonna screw this on to hold it in place while I do everything else. So this will have a couple screws in it, but I'll take it back off, and then we'll actually stain. Everything cedar will get stained. I'll get this gray, but it gives me a little bit of a top that I can actually build off of. So you'll see, you really can't see, there's a little bit of gap here. I'll actually fill that gap in and attach the cooler. But I'll go ahead and put these on. I need to adjust one of the shelves as well. I won't bore you with that, but we'll put this on. I'll adjust the shelf, and then we'll start going back to the lid itself. All right.
Here I'm just putting these top pieces on. These are cedar pieces. I'm using screws for just so I can take it off easily, stain it and everything, and then put it back on.
All right, so now we've got all that done. Basically what we're gonna do now is we got the lid on. We're gonna build a structure to go around the lid and sit flat on here. All right, I'm back. And as I mentioned, basically I cut these boards down, screwed them together. You saw me doing quite a few earlier. Basically get the right size of the top itself. Now, what I'm gonna do is actually cut some pieces that'll actually go across here and make a top. That'll be out of cedar. This I'm going to paint. This will be gray. This will be cedar here. I might put a piece around it. Let's see how it looks once we get it done. Or once we get it stained, we'll see how it looks, then we'll go from there. But put a piece here, then we'll put hinges on the back, and I'll actually screw through here to attach to the lid itself, so the whole thing will actually lift up the lid and all. So basically what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cut, I plan to cut these pieces here, but on the sides, I'm actually gonna put cedar siding on here. And what I need to do is actually get, I've got boards down here and up here to screw to or nail to, but the boards are gonna go this way. So I need to put a couple pieces in here. Runners really is what they are. So I'll do those all the way around. I'll show you what I'm doing there. Just a few of them, and so you get the understanding, and then we'll go from there. So I stepped away for a little bit. You probably wouldn't notice, but what I did is I cut these boards here. Purpose of the boards, it's gonna be somewhat of a tight fit. We'll get them in now. We're gonna go here, one here, here, and there on the sides, so that it actually can nail to these. One will be in the middle. One in the middle like this, smaller one, and then we'll do the same for the sides over here, but I'm not going to put one in the middle, I'm just going to put them on the sides so you can make nails smaller spans. So. seen some cutting, you've seen some putting together. It's all really similar, but one thing I want to point out is there's a lot of extra work I did for this because of the way I wanted to do it. I've seen many that actually put planks this way. If you do that, you don't have to put any of these inner parts in. I did because I wanted this to match my house. And my house has cedar going this way. So I put extra pieces in. You don't have to, depending on the design that you want to go with. I chose to go with this. And that's the reason I put these in here. You'll see I got the cooler in. We've got the lid, there's nothing on top. Because what I'm gonna do is, again, if I paint this whole thing, it'd be easy. I put it on and it all matches and everything's fine. But I want this to actually be a gray color like my house. So what I'm gonna do now is actually cut the cedar, measure and cut the cedar pieces for the top. I will cut the siding for the sides and the back, and I'll cut the cedar pieces for this here. I'll see how it looks. I might cut additional some trim pieces here, some trim pieces here, and on the inside, we'll see. I might even do that after we get everything else together, but I think it'll turn out good. So let's get those cut. Once I get those cut, I'll actually paint this. Well, I'll putty this. You'll see me puttying this. I'll give that time to dry. I'll come back, sand it, and then we'll actually paint it. We'll clear coat the cedar, and then we'll get everything attached and come back and finish it up. All right. I'm back. I did a few things, quite a few things that you didn't see. Didn't want to bore you with it, but I'll explain what I did. So in the front and the sides, what I did is I cut the boards. It's the cedar siding. It's the same as what my house is. So what I'm actually going to do is, and you'll get to see it all go together. It'll go there. The next one, actually start with the bottom. It's tough to get a visual with me just holding it, but I don't want to put them on yet. Because I want to stain them first. It's going to look just like that. Now I'm actually going to have a trim piece up top. So that's what I cut. I cut that for this, for the front. I cut it for the sides as well. It's going to be the same thing. In the back, I actually put a piece of plywood on the back. The reason being is this is going to go up against my house, underneath my deck, underneath an overhang. So the back, I don't have to do this way. If I decide later to move it around, put it somewhere else out in the open, I'll do all four sides. I can do it. It won't take long at all. And that's what you have to think about when you're going to do a project like this. Where are you going to put it? Understand all of that ahead of time. I know where this is going to be. If it was for somebody else, I wouldn't be painting it the colors I'm doing it. But because it's for me, I know how we're going to do it and where it's going to go. So we'll do it that way. So I cut the side pieces you can see down here. I've actually cut the bottom as well. These are just laying in there. Again, this is actually cedar fencing, just thin slats. I had the piece in the middle so it'll support it, so it'll be good. I've got those cut. I'll take them all out and stain them. I'll paint this, stain it, and then put it back in. You'll get to see that as well. And over here, got to see the top, did the top as well. So similar to how this was down here, I'm actually gonna do cedar on the top. I am gonna paint this. We'll see how it looks. I can always come back with cedar later. But we'll see how it looks. So you have this cedar here, then the gray, then the cedar on top, just trying to mix it up a little bit. We'll see. So the neck, we've got everything cut. There's a few little pieces. One thing we haven't talked about at all, we will, it's just not to that point yet, is the drain plug for this. I've actually taken a drain plug out and I actually have the parts. I think I showed you already what I'm gonna use. We'll plumb that in. Once we get this stained, everything's stained and painted, and as we're putting it together, when we do that side over there, we'll actually drill the hole out. I'll take the cooler out. I won't attach it yet. I'll take the cooler out. We'll drill that through, put all of that in place, then we'll attach the cooler to this so it's permanently fixed. So that's why I haven't done that yet, just to let you know. But at this point, I'm gonna dismantle things, reorganize things a little bit, use this table for staining, move this to the floor and actually start. I'm not gonna paint yet today. What I'm gonna do is actually cover all of these holes, put some wood putty in, any of the, not in here, but any of these surface holes, I'll put wood putty in, I'll let it dry, and then probably come back into later tonight or tomorrow. We'll get that sanded up, and then you'll be able to see. Probably paint everything tomorrow or stain everything. So it gives us let it dry for a few days, and then we'll actually come back together and put it together. For you, it won't be a couple days. For me, it'll actually be a couple days. So we'll get to using wood putty. We'll get everything filled, and then we'll go from there. All right, so all I'm doing to using to fill this is when I put the screws in, I actually sank it a little bit. So I'm using a Gorilla wood filler. I like the Gorilla products, Gorilla Glue, things like that. They work really well, so I'm trying this. And really all I'm doing, I'm just gonna get a little bit, probably a little more than I need on there because I know I've got a few right here. And I literally am just gonna go through, I'm pushing it in when I'm doing it. Forcing it in that hole so we get it completely filled in that hole itself. Leaving a little bit extra on the outside, not a big deal. I'll come back with the sander. We'll get it cleaned up. I got everything wood putty. Again, it's not perfect. But I'm gonna sand over it, so I just wanted to get the holes filled. I did not, you can see here, here's the plywood I put on the back. I'm gonna paint that, but I might actually put siding on it later, so I'll wanna be able to take that off and just put the siding on. So it's not, I'm not gonna putty these. I've actually didn't really sink these in. I got them right to the edge, so I can take them back out if need be. So we'll see how it goes.
Here I'm starting off painting the structure itself. I'm using spray paint because I used that in different parts, different projects. The color's a perfect match. I do have some regular paint that I could use, but I just thought it'd be easier and quicker to use a regular spray paint. Here I'm using a clear polyurethane. It's an interior exterior polyurethane. I've used it on many other projects. It's great. Holds up great, makes the wood look good. So I'm going to stain or put the polyurethane on all of the cedar, and then we'll let it dry and go from there.
We got this painted. There's always opportunities for touch up. We'll see how it goes, but we got this painted, the structure, the frame of it. I know you see some parts that aren't. Those are gonna be covered, so I'm not worried about it. We got everything clear coated. And when they go together, I think it's gonna look really nice. Again, this is the color of our trim of the house. This is the siding. So we're gonna give it a shot and see how it turns out. But let's give it a few days to dry. For you guys, it'll be just a second. And then we'll put it all together. Hopefully finish it up in the next little bit. All right, thank you. All right, back. Got everything stained up. You guys saw that. Let everything dry. Everything's good to go. Dried. Have all the pieces we need to put this together. Now, what I'll be putting together first is this side. So we'll do all three sides first. Then we'll focus on the top. Then we'll actually put it up on the table and focus on the bottom. The reason we're gonna do this side first is this is where the drain hole was actually at. So I wanna get this side in, excuse me, to where we can still take this out. I can work with everything if need be, have everything wide open. Don't think I'll need to take it out, but we'll get this side in place and then actually mark through the hole, the back. I will take this out, so I actually drill through it and then a pilot hole, and then we'll drill the bigger hole and we can get the plumbing through it. But we'll do this side first. I'll show you how that's gonna go. Basically gonna take our side pieces here. I'm gonna measure down. These are about 7 inches, so I'm gonna measure down about 17 and start the first one there. The next one will be about 5 inches up, and then the last one will be about 5 inches up. It'll actually stop right at the top here. I got a 2-inch piece of trim, so it'll actually see 5-inch gaps all the way down. And we'll do all the sides the same, but you'll get the opportunity to see how we're doing this one here. And you'll see I've got an air finish nailer to where I'll use a few nails here at the bottom and then up the side, and the next one we'll just do the sides and hold everything in place. To be short pieces, it should be fine. but we'll get tape measure, we'll get going. What we'll do now is focus on down here. So what I'm doing here is I just took a piece of PVC pipe. It fits right in the hole there. Good. Took a pencil, carpenter pencil, actually put a little tape on it just so it fits in there snug. So it's aligned in there. Essentially what I'm doing is just using this. I'm gonna turn it a little bit so the lead on the pencil marks it. Gonna wiggle it side to side and up and down. Just to give me a mark inside there. See the marks right there? Up and down, back and forth. So now we'll drill that through.
As I'm adding the siding pieces, it literally is just exact same all the way around, and then I will attach the trim pieces. So I'm using an air nailer here, makes it quick and easy, but I'm also measuring to make sure everything's in place where it needs to be. Putting some finishing touches on, attaching the hinges so it opens and closes smoothly. Putting a handle on and a can or bottle opener, just to have everything accessible right there.
All right, got it finished. I will say, I say finished, I do want to touch up the paint. I want to paint in a brushed nickel, the handle here, to match the bottle opener there. You see this was attached. Actually ran some screws through here to hold into this lid. So up, down. When you open it up, it actually stays just like that. Got the faucet over here for the drain. I think it turned out really cool, and again, it matches our deck. So I'll get it up there. We did the bottom for extra storage, so we'll get it up there. We'll test some water in it, test the drain, and finish it up. But hope you like this video. Like, subscribe. Our dream, our purpose. Again, we're just trying to do projects. This is one. You can find different ones out on the internet, YouTube, to find those. This is one that we did just specifically for our house, and that's what I recommend. Trying different things, learn how to do it, play around with it, and do it to fit you. So thanks for watching.